What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Run Pure Sports Swing for the Fences show, breaking down today's MLB slate. We got some interesting games to talk about. We were talking pre-show a little bit. It's a fun slate, so I'm excited to dive in and break it all down. But we got Bryce here, and we got tons of sports going on. We got showdown locking for the Olympics, NBA. We had League of Legends this morning. We had MMA last night. Lots of stuff going on over here at Run Pure. I'm sure there's even Olympic soccer coming if you're a soccer guy. But Bryce, how's it going over there?
I'm doing well. Woke up early, watched some League of Legends, played some Counter-Strike. Have a good, decent team there. It's been a busy morning, so ready to get into some baseball and then, sweat it all out. I think it's a pretty good tournament slate. I don't love some of the pitching. We'll get deeper into it during the show.
Yeah, I think it's an awesome pitching slate as well. I'm definitely excited to break it down. I was talking with JT about the 4-game slate earlier yesterday, and I like that slate, and I basically said the pitching just is hard, and when it's hard, there's unique stuff you can do, and you're going to recommend guys that just feel super uncomfortable, but hey, everyone's uncomfortable with their plays, so we'll break it all down. There's a lot of different things to discuss here. If you guys could please hit that like, we'd appreciate it over here at Run Pure Sports. And, one of the benefits to being a member is, we do, a lot of stuff for you guys. We're in the Discord helping you guys out. And Bryce, the last time you and I were on a show, we talked up the Rockies for a premium show and they put up 20 runs. So I was told by Discord members, we need to do this again. We need to run it back.
Yeah. Hopefully we can find that team again today. I was 1v1 from shipping 50K that day. I think it was Reese McGuire instead of Stallings. And obviously I just wanted to do the 5-3 stack. So if I'd done the 4-4, is what it is. It still ended up being a really good day just because the Rockies went absolutely nuts at no ownership, which makes no sense in Coors to me. Even if you're facing a good pitcher. And it's not like Pavetta is an amazing pitcher or anything.
Oh yeah, it was definitely wild for sure. That's how Coors is, right? Cooper Criswell goes off, and then Pavetta, and I think it was Houck got blown up. So that's how Coors goes. We don't have Coors on this slate. We don't have a Wrigley win game. This is what I said in the playbook. We don't have the it game, right? We don't have a Reds Great American Small Park. The one we do have is, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But the Royals are in a good spot, and it's hot there and wind blowing out, but. Overall, I think it's going to be kind of a spread out slate. Let's dive in, though, and break it all down. First game up, let's talk about this is a good one, the Padres and the Baltimore Orioles. I think this is a game that you could see Baltimore get steamed a little bit going up against Vasquez. He's not a good player, or he's not a good pitcher in general. It's a 9 total. I believe it trended down, though. It was at 9.5. It's 92 degrees. It's in a tougher ballpark. But on this slate, Bryce, we don't really care that much, I'd say, about the pitching, right? We don't have Chris Sale going up against the White Sox and just a stone spot where you want to spend on him. We have some okay spends, but for the most part, I think you can easily just prioritize your bats. So if you want to prioritize Baltimore, if you look at their lineup, Kowser's value at 3.7K up top with Santander, Henderson. Honestly, they don't even have Adley in there today. He's sitting. So they're easier to actually attain this for this game. So Baltimore's definitely a team that we're going to have to like. And then San Diego, once they lost to Tatis, they've had a lot of value just throughout their lineup. No one is really above 5K. So they're pretty easy to fit. And I'm not scared of Albert Suarez. So I do think the Padres are also a team that are in play. So this is a game that I think it's not going to go completely overlooked by people, but I think we got to consider getting exposure to it. The question is, are we overweight, underweight to the field? How are you really handling this one?
Yeah, I want to be overweight on both teams here. I think you broke it down pretty well. Orioles are in a great spot, obviously, and they're much more affordable today without Adley in. So kind of makes me like them more just because, you can fit them in. I'm not really worried about ownership much on this slate. It's going to be very spread out in terms of hitters, at least. I think Saber has the highest projected hitter at 15%, which is Ohtani. So, I think that there's a lot of different ways to go. The way I'm playing this slate is I'm just 150 maxing on FanDuel and DraftKings. So, I want to get, probably to, between 10, 15%, 5-man or 3-man Orioles stacks here. I like them a lot. And then on the opposite side of the game, I'm not scared of Albert Suarez at all either. I think San Diego is definitely going to go overlooked. You'll probably get them at sub 5% here. And I definitely want to be over that, probably between 5 and 10 is where I'm at. I haven't done my runs yet simply because, we only have half the lineups in. But, yeah, I want nothing to do with pitching in this game. I want to be over on bats in this game for sure. Favorite plays here. I like Cronenworth. I like Machado. And then Jackson Merrill's been absolutely raking. And, I think he definitely goes overlooked at 4.1K. On the Orioles side of the ball, I mean, Cal's are leading off. Will definitely carry some ownership. But, he kind of makes the rest of the stack fit very well. I think Gunner's going to go under owned simply because people are going to play Witt over him. So those would be my two favorite Orioles bats. And then Ryan O'Hearn, I think, is a really solid play at 4.1K as well.
Yeah, the Gunner call, I'll mention this. So Gunner, I was looking at shortstop specifically when I was filling out the top hitters. You got Bobby Witt in a good spot. You got Corey Seager against, it's against Jose Barrios, but we know Jose Barrios is bad against like lefties, and Seager's a great lefty. So I think he's someone that's going to project really well. You got Gunnar Henderson. Francisco Lindor, I just feel like naturally will always find a way to get ownership at this point. Like shortstops, it's just the ownership's going to get spread. And one of those guys is going to just be like in the single digits that you're going to be like, okay, like that's nice to have a big bat at single digits. So overall, the shortstop is awesome. And this is an awesome game. I like the idea of getting overweight on both of them. I've only written up 4 stacks in the playbook so far, and I might add a couple more. These were 2 of them. Like, I just think these 2 are just, they're clear spots that you have to get to for sure. But yeah, overall, really good game. I want to target it for sure. Next game up, Cleveland and the Philadelphia Phillies. And Bryce, this is the spot. I'm curious to get your take on it because we got this Cantillo guy. It's his first start and he's 4K. His projection I saw was like around 12 early this morning. I'm sure that could adjust. Seems like he can pitch deep enough. From what I read, has a really good strikeout rate, but also has a walk problem. So it seems like he's a very high variance guy. One thing I like a lot here is I think I like the Phillies. I don't mind this cheap 4K guy. I think you can get away with it. It doesn't feel like the right slate. I think it'd be better if it was a slate where we had like a stud pitcher that we wanted to spend on. But I mean, pitching's just bad. So if you wanted to spend for all the bats, you could get away with it. But my opinion is I want the Phillies. I think this is an amazing spot for the Phillies. I think the Phillies are getting completely overlooked here. I think whenever I can get them at 10% or below, I just want to sign up for that, especially against a rookie pitcher that has a walk problem. Typically guys that can have walk issues, it's a dream spot because you get 2 guys on base and then you get that home run when he gets a little shaky and wild. And again, it's a rookie. It's his first start, might have a short leash. And if Cleveland gets blown up, then you're not getting the good bullpen guys. That's another thing that's really valuable with Cleveland. Obviously, if this guy crushes, you have to deal with that Cleveland bullpen, but you'll get the bad part of it. So overall, I like the Phillies a lot. I just think they're completely under-owned compared to some of these other offenses. But what about you?
I want to be over on Philly and on the 4K pitcher. I looked at his K prop. It's 4.5, juiced pretty much evenly on both sides. So, to me, that indicates that he's like has a decent leash. And, if he gets you 5 strikeouts at 4K, if you want the expensive bats, it's definitely a viable way to go. And I do want to be over the Phillies too, because, he's an unknown. The Phillies, as you said, are going to be under-owned, and, they could easily go nuts here. It's pretty high total. I definitely prefer them to the Guardians. Guardians are affordable without Jose Ramirez, but no, sorry, Jose Ramirez is in there. Without some of these other guys in the lineup, like Martinez is 3.4K. It's Noel's 3.2K. Like, it's a pretty cheap stack to fit in. I don't really want anything to do with Allard. I think he's too expensive. I hate playing pitchers against Cleveland, so I think I'm just going to flat fade him in my 150. But yeah, I would like to get to around 15 to 20% on the 4K guy. And then, I want to be around 10% on the Phillies. And with the Guardians, probably 5 to 10%. Pretty similar to the first game for me in terms of ownership. The only pitch I'm playing in the games we've talked about so far is Cantillo. And yeah, I think it's a good spot for bats, but if the 4K pitcher crushes, it lets you do stuff that you can't do unless you play him. So I still want to be over on him. I think he has some upside, but he also has crazy downside.
Oh yeah, for sure. We got Jake asking, where's DC? DC is away. He'll be back, I think, Wednesday. I don't know. He's smelling the roses somewhere, probably climbing in some mountains and enjoying life. So DC will be back Wednesday. So,
he has a family reunion, so he can't even play DFS right now because I think it's up in like Washington where you can't play. It's like the one part of the country I've never been to simply because you can't play DFS. So I've never been to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, it's terrible there for the DFS people. So I know people that are up there that lost it and are very frustrated by it for sure. We just kind of hit on Cleveland, Zach. So, and honestly, Cleveland's a tough one for me. I know you talked about them a little bit, Bryce. Like, they have some good value in there. Like I know you mentioned Noel. Like Cleveland, are you going to be overweight or underweight? You think? I know you said about 5%. Like
I'm going to be overweight. I'm expecting Cleveland to come in here at like no ownership, or not no ownership, but I think they'll be sub 5%. I want to be slightly over 5% in my 150. It's a 10-game slate. It's not like you can play every team. I'll be fading some teams, but I definitely want to be over the field on Cleveland here.
Yeah, I think Jose naturally always gets some. Martinez and Noel, I could see as values getting some, but that's really it. Cleveland's that one that I'm still considering putting on the playbook and talking them up a little bit more because I don't think Allard's that good, right? Like we talk about this pitching slate's bad, but I haven't wrote up Allard or thought about him as an option to throw out there. And we know what the Guardians can do.
I think I'm axing Allard. I hate playing pitchers against the Guardians.
Yeah, and it's a hot game, right? Like 88 degrees there, so that's obviously not great for the pitching and could obviously help the hitters. Let's go to the next one. We got the Blue Jays and the Texas Rangers. And this is definitely an intriguing game because on a bad pitching slate, Bryce, you would typically say, why are we not considering John Gray and Jose Barrios? When you just mention the names aloud, it makes sense that those are guys on bad pitching slates we kind of consider. But matchup-wise, this is not a good one. Like John Gray, this is one of the I don't know if it's like the Stone Wars matchup, but it's a very bad one. You want John Gray against teams that can strike out a ton. You do not want him against a team that doesn't strike out a ton and can get the bat on the ball because they can hit it hard. And honestly, Toronto is hitting it pretty well right now. Also, lefties can be a problem for them. That's the one thing, at least their lefties are not amazing, right? You got Horowitz at the top. You got no George Springer in there. Varsho in the 5 hole, then Barger in the 7, and Kiermaier in the 8 hole. So that's basically my thought on Toronto. I think Toronto is someone that we really like. We can't overlook. I think they should be in the pool today. And then Jose Barrios is another guy. Like lefties can beat him up pretty bad. I don't know if I want to get to Texas. Maybe you can talk me more into it, but I think this is one of those games that could get very overlooked and could be on the winner. I don't know which one my lean is, but I'm curious if you can give me some guidance on this one because I think this is definitely a game that could be very impactful on the slate and have low ownership.
Yeah, I kind of want to be over on the pitchers here. I think we have John Gray projected sub 1%. Like I'll probably play like 5% John Gray. I don't love pitching on the slate, and he's not an elite strikeout guy, but he does pitch deep into games. So if you do catch like 5 strikeouts in 6 innings, it's a tough pitching slate for me at least. So he's definitely be in my pool. Barrios will also be in my pool. I don't think he's going to carry any ownership either. I kind of want to be probably 10% on him. So Yeah, and then I think the hitters here. I think Texas will likely go over owned here. In my opinion, I'm still going to play some Texas stacks, obviously, but yeah, I think. Let me pull up these uh, hitter projections or ownership projections.
Yeah,
Uh,
while you do
yeah,
that, I'm gonna pull up the.
yeah.
I can pull up the.
Springer's out of the lineup too. He's been so hot. I think that helps Gray a bit. I'm
Yeah,
actually seeing Toronto at pretty high ownership here against Gray. So,
are they?
I think that's a spot that, I kind of want to be underweight on, just because Clemens like 2.9K, like he's a good value. You know, Varsho, the 3,600 lefties against Grays you mentioned. I think he's a good play, but, we have him, projected around like 10%. I'll probably be around 5% on Toronto and, probably a little under 5% on Texas. So likely going to be overweight on pitching here and underweight on hitting.
All right, just to mention some props. So I didn't really check the props on these guys, but Gray's on FanDuel, he's a 3.5 strikeouts over, but it's very heavily juiced, like minus 180. So it's going to move to 4.5 probably at some point. And then Barrios is at 4.5, and it's juiced on the under pretty heavy. And then they're both pretty similar. Their outs is around 17.5. So definitely a spot where, man, I think I'm just not going to play these pitchers. I understand why you are and like the leash. I'm not playing 152 for what it's worth. You are. So I think you kind of have to when you're playing 150. This is a good slate to like look at low ownership and just mix and match guys at pitcher and just kind of hope you hit the right combination. And maybe make some fades that we'll get to, because there's a couple of fades I want to talk about that I think are an interesting conversation. Let's go to the next game. Atlanta Braves, New York Mets, David Peterson and Ronaldo Lopez. And I am not one to attack the New York Mets. I know Ronaldo Lopez has had a really solid season. He's been struggling as of late, but I don't see myself playing Ronaldo Lopez, especially a 9K Ronaldo Lopez. So he will definitely be someone that I am fading on this slate. As we keep looking at it, David Peterson at 7.2K. He's an interesting one to discuss because David Peterson has a walk problem. It's clear. And Atlanta is just absolutely trash, right? They've been so bad all year long. Peterson will get some ownership. It's not going to be like egregious like McGill was yesterday, which I kind of talked about in the playbook a little bit. How like I don't know what to do with McGill because I just think it's too high of ownership, but it was such a bad pitching slate. The ownership's low enough where I'm going to take shots on Peterson. I think he's worth it. I don't like this Braves team. I don't think they're very good. It's 87 degrees, wind's blowing slightly in. Curious where you're at with this game, Bryce, because I don't really see myself playing that many bats, and I see myself mainly just playing Peterson and maybe a little bit of the Mets and kind of moving on.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty interesting game to go under. I have both pitchers projected around 10%. I'm likely going to be around the field on both of them just because, it's a pretty shitty pitching slate, and we'll get to some of the higher owned pitchers here in a bit. But yeah, I like going to be sub 5% on both offenses, and probably between 10 and 15% on both pitchers. I think there are better games to attack hitting wise, and yeah, it's not going to be one of my higher owned games, but I'll have a couple of 5 stacks in my 150, but it's not, neither team's a priority for me whatsoever. If I had to choose a side, it would definitely be the Mets here. I just think they're the much better offense right now. So yeah, Lopez is still a decent pitcher. Like he started off the season really good and hasn't shown tons of home run problems, but yeah, I don't see myself playing tons of this game period.
Yeah, I'm with you. I would assume, do you think it's more minis than like small stacks than the main stacks with this team if you ran stuff?
Yeah, I'll still have a couple 5-mans, but not many.
Yeah.
I definitely prefer like 3-mans or one-offs here.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Like, would it be crazy to have a Jeff McNeil Lindor combination as like a mini? No, not at all. I mean, Jeff McNeil has been one of the hottest bats since the All-Star break, which is kind of crazy to think. He's been up there with Fitzgerald and some of these other guys. And Lindor's been amazing, obviously. And one thing I'd be a little cautious with the Mets. I know they made some trades. Jesse Winker just got there. They had, I forget the other guy they traded for, but they traded for another outfielder. You're going to see a lot of these outfielders get subbed in and out, I think, at times. So I'd be a little cautious about them and just monitor that over the next week or so, because you might only have like 2 at-bats from these guys. And that's something we'll learn as they, keep playing games. And so I just think that's something to note if you're rostering the Mets, to think a little bit about. Like, there are certain guys are probably not getting pinch hit for, and there's going to be some of those outfielders that you got to be slightly concerned about. So next game up, Minnesota Twins, Detroit Tigers. Bailey Ober's an interesting one. We talk about this a lot. Sundays are kind of weird. We always see some odd stacks win. And when I thought that, like, the Tigers kind of just popped into my brain just because I know Bailey Ober, the range of outcomes is wide. I'm not saying I love the Tigers today. It's just, that was a thought I had because I just know how Bailey Ober experience can go. To be fair, though, Bailey Ober, it seems like a lot of his good games are against some of the bad baseball teams, right? If you look at his game logs, he had 20 against the Phillies in the last one, but other than that, Chicago 16, Detroit he had 27, Seattle 26, Oakland 40 and 27. He had some struggles against the Yankees and Texas and Cleveland. So that's the Bailey Ober experience. It's very wide range of outcomes. He is going up against the hot Javier Baez as well. I think he's got like back-to-back home runs in his last 2 games. But Bailey Ober, I think he's in play for me. And I do not think the Tiger stack is that crazy today, just because I know how wide a range of outcomes he can be. And the Twins, I really don't like to play them at all. And I would consider playing them if they had Royce Lewis in the lineup, but he's not in that lineup today. So I don't want to consider the Twins at all. I know that they got Alex Fado on and out there, and you could consider it, but for me, I'm not really that interested in the Twins. I think Ober's a good play, and I don't think the Tigers are the craziest option just because I know how wide a range of outcomes is. So it's one of those spots I'd play both sides. How about you?
Yeah, Ober's one of my absolute favorite pitchers of the day. We have him projected at 17% ownership, so I definitely want to get probably double the field on that. I think he's going to end up being my second highest owned pitcher today, and probably my highest leverage pitcher. This Tigers lineup just, to me, looks like absolute trash without Riley Green in there.
Yeah, they have no Green. Is he hurt? Or is that just a new thing?
I'm not sure if he's hurt or if it's rest, but he's not in there today. So, I think it's a super strikeout heavy lineup. I think Ober has more upside than he normally does here. So, definitely want to be over on him. I don't want anything to do with the Tigers hitting, really. When you're building 150, I'd have like 1 or 2 Tiger sacks. It's just not a team that I'm going to play today much, or if at all. Going over the Twins, no Royce Lewis definitely hurts. Likely a team that I'm going to be under on. They will go completely unowned, in my opinion. But I'm going to be sub 5% on them. Still have some Twin stacks, but not one of my favorite games to attack here outside of Ober.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to scratch any interest in the Tigers with Riley Green out. So no interest in them. And I do agree with the Ober take that he's going to be lower owned. And the reason why is a lot of people are playing these more expensive pitchers. And I think that 8K range is just a dead range where people do not want to really go to. They're either going in the 7K range or that like 9 or 10K range. And because of that, Ober just doesn't get as much ownership. So I love that call, Bryce. I'm going to be overweight on him. He's someone that I like. I think I like him even a little bit more after talking with you a bit about it. Let's go to the next game. Seattle Mariners and the Chicago White Sox. I am very intrigued to get your opinion on this one because I love Bryce Miller. Great spot. We know the White Sox struggle at times. I think there's a little bit of weather concerns there. Maybe our guy Steve Boynton will wake up. I know Sundays he likes to sleep in, so maybe he'll wake up and give us a Chicago weather report, boots on the ground in the Discord. But Bryce Miller is definitely a really good play at 9.4K. The upside's there. Props aren't bad. I think it's like 5.5 and juiced on the over, and then for strikeouts, and then outs look pretty decent as well. I think Bryce Miller is a really good floor ceiling combination play. I just don't see him doing that bad. Garrett Crochet is the next conversation. So I struggle to play Garrett Crochet. I think if you are someone that isn't really paying attention to baseball and like, what's going on, and you just kind of like play DFS, you run projections, like Garrett Crochet is projecting really well in Sabre. And I'm sure he's projecting well everywhere because they assume he's going to pitch his normal pitch count. But the last couple starts, he pitched like 23 and I think 74 pitches. Like, that's not good. He's also on record that he is not pitching in October unless he gets traded to a team and they'll give him an extension. Like, this is just a really mess of a scenario. And honestly, this 7 total, I don't know, it feels kind of low. I think we should be on Seattle a little bit. I know the Sims liked them a little bit the past couple slates, and they liked them today as well when I ran it very early. I'm sure that can change, though, with ownership and projections changing. But I don't think Seattle's crazy, and it's mainly because I don't think Crochet is pitching a lot of innings. If I get 4 innings of Crochet and I get 5 innings of the White Sox bullpen, why wouldn't I have some interest in Seattle to a degree? So I think Seattle is kind of interesting, and I think Crochet is a fade for me. You're playing 150 lineup, so I doubt you're fading him, but you got to make some kind of stance on him today, I think, whether it's overweight, underweight, or fading him. So what are you doing with Crochet in this game?
I'm not fading him. I'm definitely going to be underweight. We have him projected at 36% ownership. I'm likely going to be around, 10 to 15 because, he can get, if he throws 75 pitches and like Reagan's doesn't do well, he can get like 8Ks. So I do want to play him. If I was running a single entry, I definitely would not play him. If I was playing 3 teams, I wouldn't play him. It's definitely an underweight stance that I want to take. Don't really have any interest in the White Sox bats here. It is bad hitting weather in Chicago. And we'll, if you're a Run Pure Sports member, we'll have you covered with the weather in Discord up closer to lock. I haven't looked at the weather yet today, but it seems like the only potential problem spot. And, it's just kind of hard to predict, up until game time. So, that game locks half an hour after lock. So, we'll have you covered around 1 p.m. with the weather report there. In terms of Miller, I want to be over on Bryce Miller today. He's projected not like crazy over anything. I'll probably end up having about 25% Bryce Miller. I just think this White Sox team, there's just a lot of strikeouts in it. And, he gets a lot of righties. It's just not a good lineup in my opinion. So don't really want anything to do with the White Sox bats. Miller is projected 19% ownership. I'll likely be around 25. In terms of the Mariners bats, I do think that they're super sneaky today. They're going to go completely unowned against Crochet, but if Crochet throws 3 or 4 innings, which is in the realm, like it's definitely in the realm of possibilities here. You're getting to a crappy White Sox bullpen. It's not good hitting weather, but Seattle's going to be like 0% owned. I'll probably be sub 5%, but probably between 3 and 5% Seattle here.
All right, yeah. You're definitely going to be underweight on Crochet. I will say the weather, I could see the weather getting worse and worse up the lock, and it his ownership comes down from where we think it is right now at that like 30-ish range, but I definitely could see that happen. We'll have to see. That obviously that's going to depend closer to lock. We see ownership go down on players all the time. Regardless, they'll still get some ownership, in my opinion. Marlins and Brewers is up next. The Marlins lineup, man, it is Sunday, and they could put out a really bad lineup. Like, it's bad without Jazz. The one thing I'll mention, though, Jazz is a very strikeout-heavy guy, so when he doesn't hit well, you do get the strikeouts for your pitcher, which is nice. Tobias Myers, I think at 8-2 has to be in the conversation. I like Bailey Ober more than Tobias Myers, but just at 8-2, I think you got to consider him because that lineup is just so bad. So he's in the conversation for me as a pitcher to consider on this slate. And Kyle Tyler's not great. I think we got to like the Brewers a little bit. They're in the pool for me. I don't know if they're going to be a team that I'm definitely overweight on. I definitely play them a lot more than other people, but I think I just got to like him because Kyle Tyler's not that great and the bullpen's really bad. So it's a slate too where ownership's going to be very spread out. It's not like I'm scared of a Coors or something like that. So I got to have some Brewers at the end of the day. They're going to be in the conversation for me. How about you, Bryce?
Brewers are one of my favorite stacks of the day. You know, I want to be around 10% on them. You know, I'd consider them in single entry. They just have tons of upside, you know, in terms of how much they run. And, you know, I think like Turang is a great play. You know, we don't have their lineup in yet. They're very affordable as well. You know, you have a lot of high upside bats in this team, and I definitely want to be overweight on the Brewers. I'm not going to be playing any Kyle Tyler, and I'm not going to. I will have a couple Marlins, even though I want to be over on Tobias Myers. Tobias Myers is projected at about 20% ownership. I'm likely going to get to 30 on him. The Marlins bats are just so cheap that, you know, it helps you do some stuff that you can't do otherwise. So mainly minis for me. And, you know, I'm not going to play many of them, but, you know, mainly minis and one-offs. I might have like one or two 5-mans in my 150, but don't have tons of interest in them. But just, you know, something to think about here, like individual bats, like, you know, Josh Bell has upside. You know, he's 3.1K. Jake Berger has upside. He's 3.6K. So, like, if you don't like Myers, and I'm a long-term believer in Myers. I pretty much buy him every slate. I'm going to buy him here. So, yeah, the Brewers pitching and hitting is definitely my preferred option. And, you know, I think the Brewers come in way under-owned here compared to what they should be.
Yeah, definitely think I play the Brewers a lot. So I was thinking about it earlier and I just have to play them. So I'm going to definitely have exposure to the Brewers today. We did get the Mets lineup, just worth noting. I'm sure this will matter for cash game stuff, Bryce. Jose Iglesias, second baseman for cheap. He's in the 2-hole.
And there's no JD Martinez.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, Iglesias will definitely make my cash chart. But, yeah, that'll be up on runpuresports.com after the show. You know, I just don't really put up the cash stuff until, you know, we have all the lineups in, just because, like, you know, especially on Sundays, like, it's rest day. So, you know, you kind of need all the lineups to do that.
Yeah, and honestly, like, I could see this affecting some building with mini stacks, right? Like a Jose Iglesias 2-man with a Francisco Alvarez or a Lindor, like all those guys. So I think that value is definitely going to help change some stuff. So figured I would mention that while we're here on the show. Next game up is, oh yeah, and I'm not playing any Marlins. They're unnecessary today for me. Cubs and Royals. This is definitely a game we have to discuss. So 89 degrees, wind blowing out 10 miles an hour at this stadium. Javier Assad is not good. This Royals team, definitely a team that I want to get exposure to today. I'm curious what that lineup's going to be. They'll have enough value throughout their lineup. I'm sure I'm going to want Bobby Witt, Perez, Vinny P. I'll probably want at least two of them.
Lineup's as normal.
Oh, is it? Okay. I must have missed that. Okay. Let me just, so it's nothing weird even at the bottom. It's all normal. Yeah, it looks like it's pretty normal. Furman's in there, obviously. I'm sure Perez is just DHing. Yeah. I mean, Garcia's fallen from that 1-hole to the 9-hole now, which is kind of funny. Actually, Michael Massey at the 1-hole is interesting. That's not typically, they've been doing the Adam Frazier thing all week, so Adam Frazier's not in there. So Michael Massey definitely is a little bit of a change, but for the most part, it's the same lineup, just changing out Massey for Adam Frazier. But overall, I like the Royals. They're definitely in play today. When you look at the Chicago Cubs, I don't think, I know Saber might push them a little bit because it's just leverage, right, against Cole Reagans. I can't do it. I know Saber does that at times where it's just like, hey, here's the highest home pitcher. It's Cole Reagans. Stack against it. For me, I can't do it. And I just don't know if I need a lot of Cole Reagans. I'm curious what ownership you're doing on him. I don't see Cole Reagans making my core today. I think he's in play. He's in the conversation today, but I just don't see him making my core. I think he's got a really good props all around. It's not the same play as Blake Snell yesterday, but similar. His outs recorded, I think, is at 8.5 or 18.5. His strikeouts is either 6.5 juiced on the over or 7.5. It's like around that range. Similar to Snell, but again, he's expensive. He's not dirt cheap. This guy costs $10K. It's not like he's $8K like Snell was yesterday. And it is against a bad offense. But I like Reagans, but I don't love him. I'm curious if you're going to be severely overweight, even with the field, or underweight on him here, and how you're handling the rest of this one.
I'm going to be about even on the field. I want to be around 40% on Reagans, and he could come in higher. It kind of depends what people do with Crochet, so I do think there's some variance to that ownership projection. But I'm going to be around 40%. I think he is the safest and highest upside pitching play of the day. So it can't play everyone. My three favorite pitchers of the day are Reagans, Tobias Myers, and Bailey Over, as we discussed. So those are kind of the three guys that I would build around, like if you're building 1 to 3 teams. And they're likely going to be my highest owned pitchers of the day in my 150. Moving to the offenses, I think the Royals are in a really good spot here. Assad is trash. I don't want anything to do with him. It is good hitting weather here. Cubs are a very high strikeout team, but they do have some upside. So you'll get a lot of leverage against Reagans with the Cubs. So I kind of want to be over on the Cubs too. Just in case Reagans get blown up and you get to a KC bullpen that I'm not scared of. So I think the Cubs are a good buy at pretty much zero ownership just because of the leverage that you would get off Reagans. So, I'll likely, I'm still going to be sub 5% on them, but I'm definitely going to have some Cubs 5 and 3 mans here. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the Cubs side. For the Royals side, they're one of my favorite offenses of the day as well. I know I had talked up the Brewers, we talked up the Phillies, and we talked up the Orioles, and I think the Royals are up there with them as top plays. Bobby Witt's going to steal if he gets on base here 100%. Bethencourt behind or with Assad, he's not good against holy runners. So, I think Witt carries a decent amount of ownership here. I think he's going to be the highest owned shortstop of the day. He's also, probably outside of Ohtani, the best hitter on the slate. So, I'll probably be around 10 to 15% on the Royals 5-man stacks. It's just kind of a slate where, ownership isn't really going to condense around one team. So it's you don't have to play a crazy amount to get over,
Yeah, we just got this Dodgers lineup. I'll say this. It's bad, which I'm excited to talk about this next game. Ohtani and Teoscar Hernandez 1-2. Gavin Lux in the 3-hole and Jason Hayward in the 4-hole. I mean, that is a rough setup. So we'll talk about that here in a second. Choke Hold'em asks, he's late, top stacks. We'll do the stacks very shortly. Minnesota, we didn't love. Detroit, we didn't love. We really liked Philly. So that's kind of the breakdown of the stuff that you missed. But yeah, last game of the slate, Dodgers and Houston. Actually, I think there's one more after. Yeah, there's one more. My bad. So second to the last one. Houston and Dodgers. I like Arrighetti a lot. Seeing that lineup makes me like him even more. I looked up some of the props before. He had a 5.5 strikeout prop. He was, I think, projected to go 16.5 outs. So deep enough. And this, I think the overs are a good bet here on Arrighetti. I think it's a great spot for me. Someone I wanted to be overweight on for the rest of the season. Arrighetti and Hunter Brown are two guys who just wanted to be all over. So I'm going to keep playing him. I think it's a good spot against the Dodgers. I have no interest in River Ryan. I don't totally hate Houston, but I don't know. I probably won't get them much. They're one of those teams that feel like they just won't get in there for me. But overall, Spencer Arrighetti, I think, is a really strong play, and I want to be overweight on him. He might even make my core. It's definitely something I got to consider getting off the show. But what's your thoughts here on this one, Bryce?
Kind of a tough game here with this watered down Dodgers lineup. Surprised the line hasn't moved towards Houston a bit here. But yeah, I like Arrighetti. I like being over on him. Let me check to see how he's projected 16%. I'm likely going to get between around, probably 20 on him. It's not like a crazy buy for me, but it will be a buy. And then I'm still going to buy on this Dodgers team. They still have tons of talent up top. So, it makes, a 3-man stack like very intriguing, like stack the top 3 with Lux. It being so cheap hitting behind these guys. Likely going to be between 5 and 10% on the Dodgers, closer to 5%. But yeah, I think it's a decent leverage spot because while I like Arrighetti, I do think he has blow potential here against the Dodgers. So I want to buy on them. Astros against River Ryan, likely going to be around the field on them, seeing about 5% ownership on them. So yeah, it's not my favorite play of the day, but it's not like I absolutely hate them. So kind of field on them, and likely not going to be using much River Ryan here, like because I'm playing 150. I'll have him in a couple lineups, but not going to be a buy for me.
All right, let's get to the last game. Nationals, Cardinals, DJ Hertz, and Miles Mikolas, which DJ Hertz is, I don't think he's the worst idea. I like other values. I kind of wrote him up a little bit earlier, but like I said, I like Arrighetti more. I think I like Peterson more. And obviously I like some of the other guys that are more expensive too. I'm just talking when we're talking about the values. That's what I'm kind of breaking down. But I don't, if you're playing 150, I bet you have a little bit. It wouldn't shock me. And then I doubt you have any Mikolas. Mikolas is just terrible. And what else there? The Nationals, I know they can pop off, but we talk about how Mikolas doesn't get blown up enough. So I think from a hitter's perspective, I just don't want to play these guys. I think they're likely a fade. We've talked about enough bats where I can get away with it, but I don't know. Maybe you're like our guy in the chat saying Nationals are the best stack of the day. We'll have to see, Bryce, though. What's your thoughts on this one?
Nationals are a team I buy pretty much every slate just because they do have tons of upside because they run like crazy. So I do want to be over on the Nationals today, probably around 5%. I don't want anything to do with Hertz pitching. It is good hitting weather here. I think Mikolas actually carries some ownership here at 6.3K. We don't have him projected at high ownership, but it would not surprise me if he gets steamed up here. So not going to be over on Mikolas today. Probably, 5% for me. Maybe a little bit more. I still need to, rerun stuff when we get all these lineups in. But I think Abrams and like Wayne Thomas, James Wood, like these guys who run too are really solid plays. I definitely prefer the Nationals as like a 3-man mini stack as opposed to a 5 stack. Moving over to the Cardinals side here, I think they're pretty solid plays. They're cheap. It's really good hitting weather. We don't have their lineup yet, so that's something to look out for. It's a little harder to recommend individual players without lineups, but I'm likely going to be around 10% on the Cardinals. I think they come in much lower than that, so they're definitely going to be a buy for me today.
All right, Bryce buying on some of those guys. Let's get to the end part of the show where we talk about our top stack. We'll do contrarian stack, pitcher that we're buying, favorite home run, and hitters. So, Bryce, top stack of the day and top contrarian stack. Who do you got?
My top stack of the day here is going to be Philly against this 4K guy. He's going to carry some ownership, so you actually do get some leverage there. Top contrarian stack of the day here. Which one did I say? I like the Padres as a contrarian stack today. I don't think they carry any ownership, and I'm not scared of Suarez.
All right. We got John Gotti in the chat. We always like it when John Gotti's here. So thanks a lot for joining. We're breaking down. We're giving the TLDR. Is that what the kids say, Bryce? Is that what it's called? The too long didn't read?
Yeah, I use TLDR way too much.
Yeah, I know you use it a lot. So, yeah. But he says I don't play DFS, but do you have 3 teams you like to win money line? Bryce, can we muster up? Want to muster up a 3-game parlay for the people? Just money line here for everyone.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, we
here,
both like the
go.
Phillies.
We both like the Phillies. Here, let me look at the updated lines here. I think we're going to go with Philadelphia. I like the Twins a lot. We discussed this watered down Tigers lineup and how much we both like over. So I think that's a good one. And then, do you have a third one for the people?
Yeah. Let's see what we can find. We're taking a favorite there, which is, I mean, it's not crazy.
Well,
I actually wouldn't.
It's not like you're giving crazy juice.
Yeah. So, well, here's a couple options. I like the Astros a little bit.
I'm good with the Astros. It's a watered down lineup. You're a big fan of Arrighetti. I think you just go 3-team parlay. There you go.
You even said it hasn't flipped yet, right? So it's like that's good too. So all right, let's cook that.
No, it's still sitting. It's still sitting at 130.
All right, I'm gonna put that in. So I got that. I got the Astros, and who was the other one we said? Oh, you said the Twins.
Phillies, Twins,
Twins,
Astros.
That's like 4-1. So we're gonna cook that one up. We're gonna throw that in. Hopefully, we can make the people some money. So there you go. Let's get back to the stack. So Phillies are going to be my contrarian stack. I know you said they're your favorite, but they're definitely my contrarian stack. And if it feels like, Bryce, if we had to pick our team that we're both on from the last show, or Rockies were it, I feels like the Phillies are that team. So I'll definitely be all over the Phillies. And then my contrarian stack, or so that's my contrarian stack. My favorite stack will go with probably the Royals. I think they're just the top stack of the day. So I loved some of the stuff that you said about them too. So they're definitely the best spot. But Jay, we went with money line on those. Money line, not run line, made it a little bit easier. We did get the Brewers lineup too. I'll just call that out. It's Terang, Contreras, Churro, Bowers, Adames, Hoskins, Mitchell, Ortiz, and Haas. So there you go. But anyways, let's see. All right. So now we're on the pitchers. Who's your favorite pitcher, Bryce? Favorite pitcher of the day?
Favorite pitcher of the day? Oh, Mateo obviously likes this guy too. I'm going to go with Bailey Ober, who will be my biggest buy of the day.
Yeah, Bailey Ober is definitely your big buy for sure. My big buy is probably going to be Arrighetti, the more I think about it. So I think Arrighetti is going to be the guy for me. We'll make him my buy. I don't know if I gave out my contrarian one, but my contrarian one's the Seattle Mariners for the bats. I got distracted, Bryce, because I heard my family's dogs were barking. They're all both downstairs. I don't know if Mateo heard them, but maybe that was what was going on there. But
yeah, he's sitting there now. I think he heard something at the door. Guy has the biggest ears and the best hearing I've ever seen from a dog.
To be fair, I had people going in and out here, so he could have heard it. Wouldn't totally shock me, but yeah. Let's move on to favorite overall hitter of the entire slate, Bryce. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with Trey Turner.
Trey Turner's a good call. I'm going with another shortstop. I'm going with Bobby Witt Jr. I think he's the overall guy. And then let's go with home run call. Who is going yard to close it out?
Who is going yard today? I'm going to go with my guy, Manny Machado.
All right, Manny Machado it is. I'm going to go with – let's go with a lefty spot. Actually, no, let's go with Alec Bohm. I like Alec Bohm. We'll go with him. In the 4-hole there, he gets overlooked at times because everyone else wants to play Trey Turner, Schwarber, or Harper. So go with Mr. Bohm will be my home run call. It's been a good show, though. I like this slate. I think it's a fun one. I can't wait to see how it all breaks down. Should be a good time. We got USA basketball to sweat and tons of other stuff. I know you got your Counter-Strike stuff to sweat out. So a lot of stuff going on here. And then I'm sure Sunday night will close out. And then, hey, preseason NFL is coming up. So football, I think we have no more Sundays without football. Football's here for the rest of the season. Starting next Sunday, we'll have preseason.
I can't wait. We have a great preseason product as well. Bruce does such a good job in preseason. It's unbelievable.
And Bruce shipped, I think, like 50K last year in preseason. So
Yeah.
Bruce knows how to get it done. And I don't know about you, Bryce, but there's some Underdog has some college football, best ball contests, and Bruce has some rankings up on the site. So
Yeah, no, I'm planning on maxing that. I've just been traveling so much. I think work dies down because I'm on these shows the next, I think, 3 or 4 days without DC here. But when DC gets back, I'm going to be grinding these underdog drafts to get to college football max, and hopefully, it fills and they kick it up next year. Just because I love college football; it's my favorite sport.
sounds good. All right. Well, we'll wrap up the show. That's it. Thanks a lot for joining. We'll have a show again tomorrow for you guys. No NASCAR today. It'll be back, I think, August 11th. So be sure to check that out when stats and we are back to the normal schedule. But we're going to get on out of here. For me, Mangone, and Bryce. We'll see you guys later.